Hello, hello, hello. What's going on, gentlemen?
Let's
Adam,
go.
Runnin
happening, bro?
Routes podcast. Here we are. Preseason coming quick. Training camps in the house. Wow,
Let's
training
go.
camps. Injuries piling up and drama alerts all over the place. But
Ridiculous.
hey, we're happy it's getting football season again, right?
Hell yeah. Hell
Yes,
yeah. Definitely.
yes. It is
Damar
juicy out
Hamlin's
there everywhere you
practicing,
look.
people. Pads feel amazing.
All right, but for this show, ladies and gentlemen, we got the AFC rundown for strengths, weaknesses, each team, we think they're going to look. A little bit how they play out in the division, kind of scenarios. We'll start off here with the AFC East boys. We'll start first team with the Buffalo. We're going to look at best position groups, worst position groups, and what they kind of need in order to win the division, and then kind of a little ballpark of how we think they might end up. But for me, first for Buffalo, best position group, I like the tight ends there. I like Dawson Knox. He wasn't as quite as hype as he was last year, as the year he was there in 2022 or 2021, but he still had a pretty good season. Still back-to-back 500 yards for a tight end that they didn't use. And now you're adding a guy who's bigger, faster, has a larger catch radius. So I like that to pair. And they've been and Buffalo's been trying to pair up a good athletic tight end with Dawson Knox on the other side. They've been trying to do like a good two tight end setup for a while. They tried doing it with Howard, didn't really work out. They brought in a couple other journeyman veterans, didn't work out. So I think them taking Dalton Kincaid in the first is going to help out. So I like the tight ends a lot. And then for me, worst position group, I got to go linebackers. I know they still got Milano there, great linebacker, but losing Edmonds is giant shoes to fill. And
Well said.
it's tough. That dude's a leading tackler in the NFL. That's a tough one
Well
to
said.
overcome.
Well said.
Uh, so then for me, needs to win the division. I got the offensive line and the running back. So O line needs to play better than what they look like on paper, and running backs need to find a rhythm to take pressure off the pass.
What
I got them. I got them doing. I think they're taking a step back from all the hype they've had for the past 2 years. I got them low range, double digit wins, 10, 12 kind of area. What do you add there, Charlie?
sounds
How you
about
looking
right.
at Buffalo?
Um, it's tough because when I originally started my cheat sheet here, there was a player that was still available to the squad. I took the running backs. I liked them bringing over Damian Harris, although he's had ball security issues in the past. But teaming him up a true thunder and lightning with James Cook. I still like that a lot. Harris has been steady Eddie in New England for a while. I like what he brings to the table when he doesn't have to be the lead back. Him and Ramondre last year were a very nice 1-2 punch for the Patriots about all the offense they had. And this is where it kind of hurts because you had also the do-it-all guy in Hines, but as we all know now, jet ski accident, Hines is gone for the year, so that kind of hurts my strength in picking this group, but I'll stay with it. On the weaker side of things, it's the secondary for me. It's a group that is aging at safety. It's a group that has paddled injuries. Whether you talk about Tre'Davious White, obviously what happened to Hamlin last year, and Poyer and Hyde have both missed significant time here over the past couple of seasons. They did bring over Taylor Rapp from the Rams, but personally, I didn't really like him too much. But he does add depth, and he is a smart player, kind of in the mold of the safeties that they have. But I'm not a big fan. So I mean, when I look at it, and then I look at the rest of the AFC, I think that's could be a very troublesome spot for them. I'm kind of leaning how you are. I'm thinking 10 to high side 13 wins, but I'm thinking more, somewhere in the middle for them. How about you, Eddie? What you got?
Yeah, man. I mean, you guys touched on a lot. For me, um, I really like the defensive line for me. Gregory Russo. I love him coming out of Miami, wide receiver, transitioning to defensive end in college, and then transitioning very well in the pros. That's my favorite position group. My weakest is definitely linebacker. I would have to agree with Brady 100%. And it's not like they didn't try to replace it. They did. They picked up a couple dudes here, there, and everywhere on the defensive line and the defensive side of the ball, But I just, Von Miller's getting up there. Shane Ray played 11 games last season. These are some of the guys that are the acquisitions. We all know Von Miller's coming back. They got Leonard Floyd from the Rams, too, who's another one that is just an incredible name, an incredible athlete. I question, can he stay healthy for the 17 games? And this team's going to make the playoffs, so you got to play more than that. And for me, what this team needs to do better on paper, for me, and, what I'm looking at here, when you check the stats out, crossing the T's, dotting the I's, this team's doing everything offensively already and defensively. 28 points a game they're scoring. Defense is only letting up 17. They're doing things right. Time of possession, they own. But the thing is here, they're getting first downs. They're doing all these things. They got 4,000 yards passing. They got 2,200 yards rushing. It's a well-balanced machine. They score very fast. But what they're not doing well, and this is hurting them in the long run, is 50% on third down, 53% on fourth down. It's basically a flip of a coin on third and fourth down. With a quarterback like you have, the type of offense you have, it shouldn't be like that. You should be commanding the offense more in them times of need when you actually have to get the first downs. You're not able to do it. It's a flip of a coin. That's huge. Kansas City isn't having those problems. Super Bowl winning team, well-coached team. They're not having those issues. And if you want to compete in the division you're in, which is the AFC, these are some of the things you're going to have to do. I'm thinking 9 to 13 wins simply because of all the defensive acquisitions that are coming back to the squad and that they added are a little on the aging side. And I just question, can they stay healthy? They're all elite players if they can stay on the field, because that's what matters the most. Outside of that, though, I think it's going to be a tough year for Buffalo. They might be very successful, and they keep the injuries under wrap, and they come out balling, or they got some snakes in the closet, and they got some soul searching to do over there. What's going on with the coaching staff? What's going on with players? Can people stay healthy? I don't know. We'll see what happens. But that's all I got for Buffalo.
Yep. Yeah, no, you and Brady both with Edmonds' departure.
Huge.
It's gonna be tough for them in pass coverage too, because he's very instinctual linebacker there in the middle. So yeah, it's gonna hurt. It's gonna hurt. You guys are right, and you're right about the efficiency. You could see it last year with Buffalo. When it counted, when it really mattered, they weren't picking up those first downs that really would seal up some of these games or keep them in games. And yeah, it was definitely trouble.
You take a look at the team and what they did in the draft. It kind of plays into what Brady was saying about the offensive line. They drafted 2 offensive guards and a wide receiver, big body, to go out there and help. Also, big body wide receiver to help them in the red zone to be successful. You got Osiris Terrence, a huge dude out of Florida Gators. The capabilities, they did a good draft. They just need to put it all on paper and be successful on third and fourth downs when it counts moving forward, against the tough teams statistically.
Sure.
All righty. Next team here. Let's go Miami Dolphins.
Ooh.
It's an interesting one because for me, the best position group, I had a little bit of a coin flip between the secondary and wide receivers. Obviously, here, past couple of days, we learned that cornerback Ramsey going to be sitting out till probably December, so that's going to hit him. I think that dropped me back. So then I had to go wide receiver group, just simply Hill and Waddle. That's just they're way too fast. They give every team in the NFL trouble. So worst position group, I'm going to go QB. I'm sorry, I got to do it.
Thanks.
I got to. It's
all right.
Tua was a tough sell to me for the longest time for him to be an above average QB, let alone an average one. So him being injury prone, him coming back from these injuries, his focus is not getting injured now when he's getting sacked. Not there's too much on his mind now when he's getting hit or when he's even has the ball in his hand. It goes, oh hey, where's that guy coming on my blind shoulder? And so for me, I'm just worried about how that affects him mentally, thinking game time, quickness, because he's got more in his head now. It's not natural. He's had do a whole learning curve on how to fall and not hit his head, like, which is kind of crazy to say, but that's just what it is. So then again, then jumping into the needs to win the division, obviously got to stay healthy. That's been a bug for them for quite a while now, about 4 seasons in a row now. And then smart playing. Listen to McDaniel. That man's smart, creative. They can, finagle that offense and finagle plays, and he works the system. He's a good coach. Listen to him. Let him take control. But again, similar to Buffalo, I got them right around 10-12, 9-13, maybe stretching depending on how healthy they are. Where are you at, Charlie, for Miami?
I took the linebacking core. Chubb, Baker, Jalen
Yeah.
Phillips. They brought over David Long from Tennessee.
Yes, sir.
They drafted Channing Tyndale out of Georgia, which I really like a lot. And then they even got some guys on the bench with Van Ginkel and
Oh
Duke
yeah.
Riley, who filled in last year and had a really good season considering limited playing time. So I think that's that and you think about it in the grand scheme of things, their secondary is very talented too. And then you got some chips on the D line with Wilkins and such. So, but I went linebackers. The weak spot for me, offensive line, it is concerning. I mean, you bring up Tua and the health and all that good stuff. I would note, though, on the Tua thing that coming out in the draft, he was coming off that horrific injury in which he had to get out of his head, too. So I think it's fair to give him a little bit of credit because he didn't miss a beat and get hurt like that again. So, but the offensive line, both tackle positions, got to stay upright, got to be what they paid him for too. They've invested a lot of money over the past 2 seasons in bringing over some tackles. Um, so that said, I think they're going to be right there with Buffalo. I got them 10-13 wins as well. Right in that range. They're going to be a good ball team, and I think more than likely they're a playoff team as well. How about you, Ed? What you got?
Yeah, I mean, I had defensive backfield too, and slash linebackers were basically everything behind the line of scrimmage, basically on defense for me. It was really good. I also had the ones I didn't like was offensive line was one that was definitely concerning for me, considering the 35 sacks that Tua sustained. But since you had already called the offensive line, I'm going to go ahead and I'm also going to say that little unimpressed with the tight end position for what they ended up doing. Do you let Gisick go? And he goes over to the Patriots, which is huge. That dude's a stud. And I think letting him go was a big deal. I think you guys had the money to pay him. I think you keep a guy like that around. We'll see what happens moving forward. Things they need to do better. What does the team have to do to win? Easy. Keep Tua upright. 35 sacks is not good. That's not good. For a loss of 250 yards on the season, bro. That's not good. That's not good at all. Let's start running the ball a little bit too. It's I think you try and be a little bit more balanced. I'm looking at 8 to 10 wins. I'm saying 8 to 10 because how much faith do we have in this offensive line to turn things around? They didn't really do too much. They didn't really let nobody go. They didn't really pick too much up. I think that's going to be a huge question mark. Not that Jalen Ramsey got hurt and when he's coming back. I think that defense is still going to show up and show out. I think year two underneath this defensive coordinator, it's going to be a good year for the defense. I'm still worried about Tua. I'm worried about the offensive line and what's going to happen with Tyreek Hill and that whole video of him getting into some beef. But I got them 8 to 10 win team, bro. I think potentially they could squeeze past Buffalo if they stay healthy.
Yeah, it'll be interesting.
I can't wait to see this year.
Yeah. Another drama situation they got across the NFL. Just another little piece of the pea in the pod.
Nope.
All right. Next team though. Let's go New England Patriots. This one. So for me, best position group. I just said trenches. I got both O line, D line. And I say when I say trenches, I add in the fact that you got Judon on the edge, who's going to be an animal for you on that defensive line because he's
Stud.
Outside linebacker labeled, whatever. He's an edge rusher, whatever you want to call it. But that dude
Stud.
gets after you. O-line, that middle three, they're some of the best middle three in the NFL, especially working together. Their tackles obviously aren't the best tackles in the NFL. They could use a little help, but they invested a lot of money in tight ends again,
Yes.
so they can play this 2 tight end setup, double block somebody, chip somebody with a tight end before they roll out, and as a safety net for the quarterback. Worst position group, I'm going to go wide receivers. I just feel like that entire wide receiver room is guys that would be great wide receiver twos elsewhere. There's not, there's no number one that screams at you, unfortunately.
Nah, at all.
So for me, for them to win the division, you need Ramondre Stevenson to have a Derrick Henry year, right? He needs to be explosive, dominant, hitting hard to tackle, which he's capable of doing, but just he's got to be more. And then that experiment that they're doing at cornerback needs to work out, and then they got to stay healthy. They got their best cornerback right now is a rookie that they snuck back into the first round to grab, or got in the first round late there, who kind of fell. So they could be a team that's going to be hard for them to stop the pass, or if the way they work and Belichick's defensive mind goes crazy, and he gets these corners and has a top-notch defense again. They could scare a lot of people, but I still have them in the range of about a 500 team, so 8 wins, 9 wins.
Did you just say scare a lot of people, Brady? Defensively, maybe, but offensively, they scored 21 points a game. They got to do better than that.
Absolutely. And I don't know how much more they can.
Well, that's the first part I said I needed. That you need Stevenson to have a Derrick Henry year of 1,500 yards, 12 touchdowns.
23 touchdowns he needs.
23 touchdowns.
He needs 23 touchdowns. I'm serious, because it ain't going to be from Mac Jones.
Imagine Ramondre Stevenson being more to that offense, because he darn near led him in catches as well last year.
Jesus.
But you're not lying. I mean, you're definitely right. And that wide receiver group it's tough. For
Jacoby Myers.
For me, I went. Jacoby's gone. Jacoby's a Raider. For me, I went the secondary. I like the secondary, and traditionally with the Patriots, no matter who they plug in, it's always been a good secondary. But I love Duggar. I love Phillips at the safety position. Peppers, Jalen Mills, as you mentioned, drafted Christian Gonzalez out of Oregon. I wasn't really crazy about him coming out of the draft, but if you're going to land in a situation, that's the perfect kind of defense for you to learn and just kind of blend in with. They also took a kid out of Michigan State, Amir Speed.
Yeah.
Belichick has a good eye for talent when it comes to defensive guys, offensive line. I won't give him so much on skill positions and stuff like that, but the guy knows how to pick defensive players. So
I like it.
I got a lot of trust in that. So that being said, I went the wide receiver group as well. Minus Tyquan Thornton, though. I think Tyquan Thornton could take over and be the lead horse by the end of the year, but you're not lying. Parker, Juju Smith, Bourne, and then underneath that, it's just a bunch of there's even a transition.
All solid dudes. All number twos. All number twos.
3s, 4s. It's not pretty. It's not pretty. So yeah, wide receiver group for me. At the end of the day, I think they're going to struggle. I mean, you're not lying when it's going to be scary to go up against the Patriots, because it's just that respect factor that they're going to play sound football, and you got to play your best to beat them, because they're traditionally not going to beat themselves. And that is a scary football team when you can't make mistakes against them. But, at any point scoring, you got to score more. I got them at 4 to 6 wins, maybe 7. I just think it's going to be a tough year for them in a loaded AFC. You're going to have to score points there, but Belichick finds a way to get them to play pretty good. So I don't know, but
yeah, I mean,
what you got? What you got, Eddie?
Yeah, I mean, for me, tight end group, studs, Ferkser, Gisick, Henry, solid group. Got 3 absolute studs, and he got 3 backups, decent, all young guys. Louisiana, Lafayette, Michigan State, Wake Forest. Bunch of dudes that are real young, probably very eager to learn, and probably have a lot of talent. Big dudes, 6'6", 6'5", across the board, 268 pounds, 258 pounds, 245. These guys are big, bro. These guys are out there playing. And So behind the names, they still got some more guys. The worst for me is the damn offense, bro. Like I know, like you just said, they got 3 good offensive linemen, but outside of that, what do they got? A bunch of hopes and dreams and aspirations.
At least they have a true offensive coordinator this year.
Yeah. So hopefully the offense is going to step it up. But 21 points a game just ain't it, bro. You got to do better than 21 points a game if you're going to beat, this high-powered Dolphins team. If you're going to beat, this unpredictable Buffalo Bills team, and now you got to listen to the Jets. Are you kidding me? You got Aaron Rodgers attitude in New York. That's just, oh man, this is just a recipe to just upset the New England Patriots just across the board. So are the Patriots phasing out? Look, I'm not going to say that, right? Why? Because Charlie just said it. Belichick's over there, bro, over his dead body. You feel me? But that doesn't mean it's going to translate to dubs, okay? It's just very porous on offense. And yes, the worst group could be wide receiver, but I'd argue it's the quarterback. But, I'd make a strong case for it's time to go get somebody else, but we'll see what happens, bro. What do I know? Just here observing and reporting. So I think maybe, I don't know, 6, maybe 9, maybe if everything goes good, 9. But they're definitely going to be last in the division because I don't see the Aaron Rodgers show not taking off. I just don't. I mean, like statistically, this situation going over is not that good. It doesn't happen all the time. Sometimes it happens. It happened for the Rams. It hasn't happened for the Lions. It hasn't happened for other teams. But it very well could happen for the Jets. It very well could. But yeah, I got a 6-9 win team, bro. Jets are definitely going to be better than the Patriots next year. I'm sorry, Patriot fans. I know you don't want to hear that. Coming from a Giant fan, I'm sorry. That's all I got, bud.
Alrighty. Let's go to this final AFC East team here. You got the New York Jets.
Talk about them Jets.
Moving on up here. But for me, best position group, I'm going corners. Sauce, number 1 corner in the league last year. DJ Reed was no pushover. He's solid there next to him. And then Carter there for nickel. That's a tough team to pass against. Sauce alone will shut down your best guy, and then you have to find a way to get your others involved enough to score enough because this team's going to score well. So that's going to be a tough group to go against. For me, worst position group here, I might be, kicking myself in the butt here, but I'm going to go O-line. They have a potential to have a high ceiling, if they stay healthy and everybody plays up to their potential, but they've had their list of, I don't even call it bad accidents, 40. Everything going wrong for them, but that O-line, it's got some issues.
42 sacks for 317 yards. Sacks for a loss.
And according to Robert Saleh, like their starting 5 isn't set in stone yet. I know we're still now in training camp, stuff like that, but that's not the greatest thing you want to hear from your head coach, that you don't have a 5 set in mind yet. His response, I believe, was the best 5 will play regardless of position or something like that. And you're like, what?
Aaron Rodgers can't deal with that. He needs his Bakhtiari.
And that's what we're gonna find out. Right. Is O-line that bad, or was Zach Wilson holding them back and doing too much and making that O-line look worse? It's gonna be a different story here with Aaron Rodgers, but still, I'm gonna say the worst position group, I guess my most fearful group for them is that O-line. Needs to win the division is the Aaron Rodgers gamble pays off. Everything they're giving him, before everything they gave him before he even came there, getting his wide receivers, everything that pays off. The running backs stay healthy, and they can cause problems because Aaron Rodgers likes his running backs. You saw his pair out there in Green Bay that were the best duo in the league for years.
Yeah.
He's got running backs over there that can match that, with their talent. So it could be a real problem there with New York Jets going against this league and against the AFC. I got them as another, 10-12 win team. It's a battle for me for AFC East.
For sure it is. It's going to come down to the nitty gritty. It's who's going to show up and show out every week.
Yeah, no, that's why we're hitting on these things. For me, for the Jets, I went defensive line. I mean, you're talking about Quentin Williams, you're talking about Franklin Myers. The list is long. They remind me of the San Francisco 49ers defensive line when Saleh was over there. I mean, the the different type of players that they have that they can bring in different kind of situations is what really impresses me. You talk about Al Woods, you need some run stopping. Solomon Thomas, a little bit of both. Bryce Huff off the edge, speed guy. You got Jermaine Johnson, second year out of FSU. He should be turned up this year. Lawson, I mean, Quentin Jefferson is deep, and I think that just helps that young secondary even more, which is very talented. But when you can rush four and get the type of pressure the Jets were getting last year, that defense was absolutely dominant, and it was allowing kind of my weaker point of the team, the linebacking core. It was allowing them the freedom to not get blocked, and they could just run around and make plays because there is speed there. I'm concerned about the depth behind Mosley. Quentin Williams, personally, he's a beast, but Mosley's getting up there in years, and just the depth behind him. If something were to happen there, that could be a sore spot and coming up to fill run responsibilities and stuff like that, which isn't big in the AFC East, but when you start to hit playoff time, that could be, a bugaboo down the stretch for him. And then wide receiver is a little weak for me as well. Obviously, y'all know I love Garrett Wilson, top notch, but underneath him, I mean, there's the relationship with Lazard, which I think will be helpful. But he's not the most talented guy, route runner, speed wise, anything like that. It's just kind of a more security blanket. McCole Hardman comes over from KC. Is he going to be able to do the same thing on a different, in a different system? I'm skeptical. Corey Davis was nice last year. He finally shined a little bit more since coming over from Tennessee, but I don't know if he's going to get the amount of run that maybe he needs to be productive. And then Randall Cobb, and you let Barrios walk out the door. So those two were my weak points. I got them from 8 to 10 wins. I think they can sneak in the playoffs, but I'm not sold on putting them into double digits, above 10 right now. How about you, Ed?
Yeah, I'm going best position group, the quarterback position, right? Because we've seen what they had last year, and that got them close to the playoffs, right? So they were already in good shape, right? You get Aaron Rodgers now, and that just catapults that position into basically the best position you have out of everyone and the highest ceiling, because if he can bring you to the playoffs and you can win some playoff games, that ends up being your strongest position, because that just is the most dominant position on the field. It dictates the most. It's the most scrutinized position. I'm going quarterback here. And Aaron, your little retreat and everything you did, all the asking of all these things, man, you hate to be this kind of guy and it not work out for you, man, because you're going to hear about it if it doesn't work out. And if it does work out, well, it was supposed to, right? Because you're Aaron. Yeah, but what they have to do, bro, is that offensive line is the worst. Brady said it, 42 sacks, 317 yards. That's not good. That's not good. Your first-round draft pick, Mekhi Becton, starting on the practice squad. So you guys are still beefing. Did we share that position up? Did you go and draft that position? Did you get that position taken care of? Is that one person going to eliminate 42 sacks? When's that just going to clear up? These are a lot of questions that matter, because the sacks is what allows you to get down the field and throw the ball. We talk about it. It's a passing lead. That's very important. So you got to minimize the sacks here. And I don't know if they're going to be able to do it. I'm going to say 7 to 10 wins. 10 being real generous. If everything's going right, they avoid injury at the running back position. Offensively, like the boys were saying, they get on page. Him and McCall Hardman can build some kind of rapport together and some kind of understanding. If not, then you got Lazard, you got Randall Cobb later in the season when he gets healthy. You'll have that 7 to 10 win for me. I still think potentially the Dolphins end up coming away if all the cards fall proper for every team. I think everything goes well. I think in the end of it, Buffalo could end up getting pushed, even left behind, and it could end up being Dolphins-Jets, something like that. I like the Dolphins, man, if they stay healthy.
I do too.
It'll be fun. It'll be interesting. Yeah,
I just think there's so much going on with Buffalo on the surface.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure the Jets are hoping that this Green Bay QB turns out better than the last one did. So
well said.
But
I think Aaron Rodgers will at times help the offensive line as well because he is going to be a better, quicker processing decision maker, which will enable the offensive line to, that'll help with some of the mistakes and stuff like that. But I think when you think about the Jets and if it's wide receiver that's a little weak and stuff like that, like you've got to have quick options. And I guess that's why they brought McCall Hardman over and stuff like that. And then the running game is all this. Is Brees going to be back? Dalvin Cook, all this stuff. So there's a lot of question marks on the Jets to me
A
too.
whole lot of.
Yeah. All right, let's move on. That's the AFC East. It'll be a fun division to watch for sure.
For sure.
We'll jump over AFC North now. First team, I got Cincinnati Bengals here. Tough team. Trying to push their way. They want to win a Super Bowl. They feel they're there. Best position group for me, I'm going to go QB. Joe Burrow is the man, regardless of what he has around him. How his O-line plays, how his running back is playing, don't matter. That man carries that offense and gets them W's. I would say the wide receivers, but I felt like if there was any other QB on that team but Joe Burrow, those wide receivers aren't putting up the same numbers. So that's the way I had to go QB over wide receivers for best position. For me, I'm going worst position group here. I got to go secondary. I'm grouping the corners and the safeties here in that just because there's so many question marks. The corner, Awuzie, he's coming off of his injury. The corner, Cam Taylor-Britt, he had a decent second year, and they're hoping he can continue that, but it wasn't the best. The other corner is DJ Turner. He's a second-round rookie. You got two new safeties because both Bell and Bates left in free agency. So you got Dax Hill stepping up, and then whoever's going to win the rookie, the camp between your third-round rookie Jordan Battle and then the guy you got over from the Rams, Nick Scott. Like, none of these names are jumping off the page as, hey, that guy's going to shut down a defense or be able to, shut down a wide receiver, or slow the other opposing team. Like, it needs to be a well coached unit, and they have to play well together. So it'll be tough. They're putting them all together here. They got way too much to learn against a very pass heavy, NFL league. So it's gonna be rough for them. Needs to win the division is obviously Joe Burrow stays healthy. Simple, continue that. But I want Mixon. Let's assume he plays because he's another one of those negative headlines going around, going again. But assuming he plays, that he does something with all those touches he gets. He had the most touches in the league last year and only had I think 8 total touchdowns or something to show for it. And then obviously the secondary I pointed out plays better than what I'm expecting them to look like. But even so, I'm still giving them 12-14 just because that offense can put up numbers. I'm still going to make them a 12-14 win team.
Yeah, you're not wrong. You're not wrong at all. The secondary is very young, and Joe Burrow is the epitome of leadership and stability back there in
For
the
real.
quarterback.
The spine of that team.
I went D-line. It's not a group that just wows you with athleticism and just crazy numbers. But the Bengals over the past 2 seasons have just been so solid on defense, and it really has shown up on the defensive line play, controlling the run game, when it counts on third down, getting pressures, getting sacks. Um, they've been incredible. Hubbard and Hendrickson, and then you got Reeder down there, BJ Hill clogging up the run lanes. And again, like I talked about, previously with taking the linebackers over at Miami, that type of stuff frees up the rest of the team when you have that core defensive line. I'm sorry, with the Jets. When you have that defensive front like that, you don't have to bring these extra pass rushes and stuff, and you can kind of control the line of scrimmage with only 4 guys. It's a beautiful thing. I think that'll help out the young secondary, which is talented. I like Taylor Britt a lot. I've seen some interviews with him too. He's a good kid. Weakness, just like in the early show me and Ed did, it's the offensive line, man. I mean,
Yeah.
name wise, you're talking about studs. There's no doubt about it. But I haven't seen these guys. You got Jonah flipping sides, and then Orlando Brown coming into a new offense. Should be pretty solid over there. I don't really worry about Orlando Brown, but Jonah Williams, he didn't want to go over there at first. He ended up taking it. You have Collins there, another aging vet with Karras and Kappa. And can that line stay healthy? Because the depth behind them is not good, and we've seen it actually on the field play out. And that's a recipe for disaster. And I don't like the Joe Burrow calf thing. I know it's not a serious injury, but that's a type of injury that can linger. Me personally, I've had it before playing basketball, and it's something that if not properly healed, it can pop right back on you, scar tissue develop and stuff like that. I don't like that. But he's a gamer. He's going to get through. He's going to do what he's got to do. I don't doubt him at all. I got him at 7 to 10 wins. I mean, I'm not gonna knock them out of the playoffs, but I think the AFC North is the truth this year too. Everybody talking about the East and stuff like that, and obviously what Kansas City's got in the West. But I think this division right here that we're talking about is really loaded, and the potential for multiple playoff teams out of this division is pretty high. So 7 to 10 wins. Ed, what you got for the Bengals?
Yeah, I like Cincinnati Bengals best for me, and my favorite and my best. I can't disagree with Brady. It's something I did think about. It's something that I would have took only because of I didn't take the position because I just didn't like the depth behind Burrow. So I ended up taking the wide receiver group solely based upon not only just talent but also depth. Even though I could also agree 100% that they're eating solely because of who Burrow is and not the other way around, because he does make the decisions. He does make and put the ball where his receiver's going to be successful. He gave Hayden Hurst a nice little boost so that he can go and move on and get signed by another team off his 1-year deal. And yeah, I mean, I thought about saying that the tight end group was going to be the worst, but it's the offensive line, the 44 sacks, 280 yards given up because of it. It's just not good. It's not good at all. And I mean, it's just a tribute to how good Burrow is. 44 sacks, only 12, 44 sacks and only 12 interceptions. Even though he's out there running for his life, he's still making incredible decisions with the ball under pressure. That's something that can't go overlooked. Let's not get too skewed in the numbers. I'm a Burrow fan, have been from the start. I think after the first year he came back, I would say then from the start of Burrow, not when he got drafted. That was more Charlie than me. I'm on the wagon now, I guess. I wouldn't say from the start. I got to retract that because I was not out of college. I was questioning some things. But yeah, I got them 6 to 13 wins. Why such a huge gap? 6 because if Burrow doesn't come back, they're getting 6 and 13 if he does. Again, they didn't do much. You got Orlando Brown. They're letting him play left. They're giving him what he wants. Will he give them what they want? It's going to be interesting to see what they do with the offensive line, and also run the ball too. I mean, yeah, how do you not? I love Chase Brown. I love what they did, and to be honest, it might be time for Mixon to go, and we might need some fire. And I think this kid, Chase Brown out of Illinois, is just going to give you that fire. Go ahead and let's just let the season rip so I can watch them run already, and leave the running back position alone. Pay these boys. 6 to 13. What do you guys got?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, definitely relies on Burrow for sure. But they're a good team because of him, obviously. So you're not wrong there.
Yeah, their receiving core is mad deep too. Very, very deep. The draft that they had, the 2 receivers they brought in.
Plus Irwin's a stud.
Crazy deep.
All right, let's go a little bit of a next in rivalry. Wanting to take it from Cincinnati. Let's go Baltimore Ravens here.
Lamar. You can't say Ravens without saying Lamar. You can't say Lamar without saying the Ravens.
Best position group for me, I'm going linebackers. Roquan Smith.
How do you not?
Yeah.
If we don't all 3 go linebackers.
Yeah, I mean, you got Roquan Smith, top 3 NFL inside linebacker. Patrick Queen, great tag team guy next to him. Outside linebacker, David Ojobu. They might even be able to get Houston back, stuff like that.
Simpson.
It's a top-notch group there.
The speed is just elite.
Yeah, it's a tough team. It's a tough team to do short game against. That's for sure.
I'm sure.
For me, worst position group here. A little bit of a hot take. I'm probably going to end up another one of those kick myself in the butt for. I'm going to go wide receivers. And it's because all 3 of them, to me, have a baggage that can hold them back, right? Flowers, the new guy coming in, he's little. He's 5'9", 182 pounds, and they're trying to play him like he's not a slot guy. It'll be interesting to see if that works out. I know he's quick and he's agile and he can make defenders look silly, but it might not, he could also just get blown up really quickly and go out. Bateman has had a string of injuries. Maybe him not being number one anymore will help him not be so injury prone, and you can get a nice long season out of him. He stays healthy, and he is a really good receiver when everything works out for him. And then for me, Odell, never been a big fan of Odell. Yes, he's talented. He's,
Really?
but the dude's already talking about retiring after this year. He don't want to work hard. He don't want to work hard. Let's be honest here, boys. He don't want to work hard. He just wants
He's
his
a
name out there.
Ferrari. You don't take the Ferrari out all the
The
time. He
Ferrari.
already said it in the preseason.
Yeah, but again, so we know he can be a problem
Ferraris aren't
in and
daily
out of the
drivers.
locker room. So I don't know. For me, the wide receiver group, there's a lot of potential bad there for all three of their main dudes, and we saw what Lamar looks like without having wide receivers. How that team looks like without wide receivers. So that's where I have to go worst position group, and it's not. I don't think they're the worst position group of the team. It just for me, it's the most potential for them to go bad, most likely. Right, the other ones have to be injury prone. Like I can see Flowers having a tough time. I can see Odell giving himself a hard time. I can see Bateman having a hard time because he ends up having to be the number one guy again, and things go wrong for him. So it'll be tough. Needs to win the division, stay healthy, the whole team across the board. That's another one of those teams that they're racked up. I think like 37 injuries last year. People jumping on and off the IR or something ridiculous. And then the Young Bucks at the linebacker. Obviously, I said they're the great group, but Houston leaving if he doesn't come back, those are some sacks you got to make up. So stay tough on defense, make the opposing team work to beat you because your offense should be able to score the way you're able to move the ball with Lamar. Range, I got them about 11 to 13 wins.
Yeah. Thinking they do stay healthy.
Yeah, I mean they stay healthy, but yeah, it'll be tough.
Yeah. I'm surprised you went wide receivers, but when you spelled it all out like that, makes complete sense.
There are some big names over there. What
they are lucky to have the tight end group that they have though as well, which goes and plays into that.
Mm-hmm.
For me, I went O-line on the best. Ronnie Stanley, Zeitler, Linderbaum, Morgan Moses, Mactiari, and the depth that they have, that's a position group to where they can get some injuries and still plug in good, solid people. You're talking about Ben Cleveland. You got youngsters like Paul Mostapher, Daniel Falele that they drafted last year, I think like second or third round. John Simpson coming over from San Francisco. This year they drafted a couple of pieces as well, including a kid out of USC, Andrew Voorhees. So they've stacked that up nicely. And for me, obviously, linebackers, I figured you guys would go linebackers. One of y'all would, so I stayed away from that. I do love the linebackers as well, so well said, Brady. But offensive line, when I looked at it from top to bottom, the depth there, very strong for them. And then for the weak point, it sucks, but it's the running backs for me. And it's health concerns with their two studs up front. When you're talking about Dobbins and Gus the Bus. And then underneath that, they did little to nothing. Justice Hill's still there. He's not the guy. And Melvin Gordon, you're going to bring him over from Denver. He don't have the juice left either. I'm sorry. I like Melvin Gordon. He's had a great career, but that don't move the meter much. It's no different than bringing in Latavius Murray a couple of seasons ago, trying to squeeze the juice out of old boy from the Falcons, even a couple of years back before that.
Devontae Freeman.
Thank you. So, and then even Le'Veon Bell at some point, so they've kind of got a history for doing this, but no, I don't like that. I think you still got to have balance. Yeah, they're going to want to throw the ball a little bit more with the new OC and let Lamar go at it, which I think is wonderful because I enjoy Lamar as a passer. But you're still going to have to run the ball. That for me is weak. But I like you. I've got them top end out at 13 wins too. But if the injury bug does hit, I got them as low as 8, and we'll preview and lock in our picks, down the road. But it's a pretty good sized gap for us where they could finish for me based on all that stuff. So 8 to 13 wins is what I got them on. How about you, Ed?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree. Uh, Somehow I picked both your guys' position. Um, Strongest position, linebacker, but you also arguably could say tight end for the Baltimore Ravens because of how strong they are at tight end. Andrews. Yeah, they got Andrews at tight end, and I mean that dude's just straight. That dude's just straight stud, you know. And then I really like Isaiah Likely, who's just coming on really strong last year. So they got some good depth, and then some good, you know, they drafted another kid, and then they got, you know, the Iowa State kid from 2 seasons ago who
Yeah, I
did
like
really well.
Kohler a lot. He didn't
And
get on the field.
but it's definitely linebacking is definitely one of the strongest positions for sure. Worst position, arguably, the secondary, and the running back position. I picked the running back position, but just glancing over the cornerback spots, they drafted 4 rookies. Okay, so that's telling me off rip. This is definitely a topic of interest that needs to be fully revamped by the start of the season, which arguably you don't know that's what you're getting, right? I mean, offensively, 43 yards short of 4,000 yards they let up on defense and passing. This is a passing league, ladies and gentlemen. This is not something that should be overlooked. Drafting 4 cornerbacks, okay? You just let your one of your best corners go, rightfully so. He was getting burnt all year last year.
Yeah.
And I just think, what was it? What was the cornerback from the Chiefs?
Marcus Peters.
Marcus Peters.
Yeah.
Or was he coming from the Rams? No, it was the Chiefs,
I
right?
think he came from the Rams. He might have been both.
Chiefs, Rams, and Dolphins. Wow, what a career. He was on solid teams. But the guy's getting old and getting burnt. That's a huge glaring need. And you would think that would be my argument for moving forward of what the actual Baltimore Ravens need to do to try and be successful. No, really what it is the only way that they're going to go is Lamar, and Lamar. Statistically, yeah, they're letting up a lot of yards passing, okay? That's not good. But when Lamar is on and he's distributing the rock and he's making the quick decisions and he's not out there getting hurt and he's not getting hurt for 7 games, you know, the Ravens are, you know, something to fear. But again, you know, Lamar didn't really have, you know, an incredible season last year. So, you know, 2,200 yards passing, 764 yards rushing. Huh?
First 5 games, he was red hot. But yeah, injuries tic-tacked and definitely.
Yeah, I mean, he only played 12 games.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah, availability.
18 weeks. You know, that's huge. So for me, you know, obviously I'd like the defense, you know, to get better in the secondary and not let up all those yards and let up the points. But really, realistically, when we get down to brass tacks, for me, what they need to do, and again, you know, the running back position, I think is a topic of interest as well. I don't understand why Dalvin Cook isn't already a Baltimore Raven. They need a running back. And they need rotation. They need help.
Perfect.
I don't know what you guys are doing. Why is Cook? If Cook is on the Ravens, come on, people. Where's the bell? Ding, 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 ding. Are you kidding me? If they got Cook with Lamar and they're cooking it up, bro, that'd be tough. I don't think the league wants to see that because they're a true running team, okay? And you have Cook come in to be a rotational guy, give Lamar a break so he can play those 17 games. Boy, I think we're talking about a different Ravens team, ladies and gentlemen. Lamar. That's even what I got written down, people. Lamar, people. Okay?
The Ravens are a really loyal team, similar to Pittsburgh, though. So I think that's why, because they're never that team that goes and
7
gets
to 10 wins.
that big name.
7 to 10 win team because you're not going to stay healthy. And I don't know that your 11 defensive backs you drafted is going to be the answer this season. But they very well could. I mean, they got some talented guys. They did do some stuff. 7 to 10 wins, boys.
All right. Next team here, we're going to Pittsburgh Steelers. This
Nice.
one's a little interesting because there's another team like kind of like New England. You don't really know what you're going to get outside of great coaching. Um, but for me, best position group, I'm going to go edge. T.J. Watt
Yeah.
alone puts this group above everything else
Yeah.
in this on this team. But you match him up with Alex Highsmith on the other side, and
Yeah.
you bring in Marcus Golden for rotation, so they should be continuing to put up those sack numbers that terrify the league.
Damn it, Brady. It's like I copied you or something. I'm sorry, Brady. That's why it
um,
sucks going last. I wanted to go first.
Yeah, hey, it's fair, man. Worst position group, though. I'm gonna go QB. Another team. Pickett has a lot to prove still. He struggled a lot. There was times during the season when he went out because of concussion or whatever it was that he was getting outperformed by Mitch Trubisky and stuff like that. But Steelers stuck it out with him. They want to see what they get out of this guy that they invested in. Which, hey, hats off to Steelers. I love that you're doing that. You're saying, hey, this is our guy we drafted. You're still going to be our QB regardless of how you look. We'll see how it goes with this year. Let's add to you next year. So for me, he just needs to improve. I'm still putting him in there in the worst position group because there's still a giant question mark over top of his head, regardless of how good his number one wide receiver is.
Word.
Needs to win the division. For me, it's the injury bug is going to have to bite Baltimore and Cincinnati. With that, you also need Harris to be back to those rookie numbers, and obviously, give me that O line to become a solid unit and help Pickett. But that's where I got them. So win range, I'd put them on the lower end, but having Mike Tomlin and him continuing his streak, he's going to be over 500. So I'm going to put him at like 9 wins. I don't see them falling below 8 just because Tomlin's a freaking maniac and somehow he pulls it off. Even last year when he needed 5 wins out of 6 in the last 6 games and he did it against good teams. So I'm going to put them right at like 9, 10, 11 wins just because of Mike Tomlin.
Word. Yeah, he's a stud, bro. I love that dude.
Well, for Pittsburgh, I had D-line as well. So I'll just go with my favorite person on Pittsburgh instead, and that's Mike Tomlin, before mentioned. The best leader
Honorable.
of men in the NFL, hands down.
Can't argue
Love
it.
that dude. If I was building an organization, it'd be hard pressed for me to put too many people on top of him at the coaching ranks. He connects with his players. He gets the best out of his players. It's a rarity to have somebody that is just disgruntled at him at any point in time in his long tenure. He's the model of consistency. He's everything you can look for in a leader. And his track record speaks for itself as far as, not finishing below 500
Yeah,
and
just
being right there in
watch
the
out.
playoffs.
Watch out for him tripping kick returners. That's
Yes. Yeah.
it.
Oh, he's sneaky. He's savvy.
Hell
um,
yeah.
But there are a lot of question marks on Pittsburgh. There's a lot of
Yeah.
talent here. There's a lot of talent, but there are a lot of unproven commodities. I went weak spot secondary. Um, obviously there is some talent there with Minka Fitzpatrick, but the corner positions are question marks. I wasn't too happy with the draft. Um, I do like the kid that they drafted out of Iowa, though, Corey Trice. I think he can come on and solidify at least one of those corner positions later on in the season as he gets up to speed. He's coming off an injury, but extremely athletic kid, long, tall. I like him a lot. But definitely when looking at the depth and the experience back there in the secondary, it could be a weak spot, just like we talked about for Baltimore. It could be a tough day at the office for Pittsburgh defending the pass. And as far as the win total, I gotta give it probably one of my biggest ranges, which is like 5 to 10. It's a really good division. I can see just teams being better than them. Like you said, it would take injuries and stuff to hit the Ravens and Bengals, which isn't out of the questions. But you still got the Cleveland Browns down there that we've yet to talk about as well. And 5 to 10 wins. I mean, like I said, I can't put it past Tomlin to make it happen as the season develops. I agree with you. Najee Harris bouncing back is big, contingent on them and the offensive line. But I'll stop blabbering. I'll kick it over to you, Eddie. What you got?
Yeah, I got Pittsburgh. Hard to argue any of the points that you guys made. Yes, strongest linebacker position. It's hard to see any other position having strength in it. And I know that this show was about picking a position group that you think was the worst. But listen here, I can go every single position on the offensive side of the ball. Okay, you want to talk Najee Harris? He played 17 games, 272 carries. He had 1,000 yards, 3.8 yards per carry. His longest run was 36 yards. Okay,
Not explosive.
underperform. Okay, receivers. Okay, not one of them got over 1,000 yards receiving. Not one of them. Dante Johnson was 18 yards short of 1,000. I mean, Najee did get 1,000. I mean, he should have with 272 carries, though. Again, offensively, they didn't do anything. Kenny Pickett, 2,000 yards, unacceptable. In what, ladies and gentlemen? What kind of league is it? What are we doing? Passing. 2,400 yards, ladies and gentlemen. Not very good. As a whole, leaps and bounds, bro. You got an aging defense. How many more years you think you got at a TJ Watt studding out like he is? You really have to ask yourself. They need completely everyone leaps and bounds better than what they did this season. I mean, offensively as a whole, it needs to get better in every aspect. Offense, all the way across the board. Quarterback, receiver, running back, tight ends were studs. Freiermuth, you got the kid coming from Georgia, Washington. That could be a really good position. And this could also lift up the passing game, the running game. Okay, coming in, having him block. He's a 6'7" tight end, very athletic. This could really help the offensive out.
I'm glad you brought him up because I was going to bring him up as an honorable mention because that dude could be what everybody thought Kyle Pitts was going to be. He's got the size, the strength, the wingspan, the ability to be outside. So not that a little bit dig at Pitts because I'm a Bucs fan, but I got to. But again, Darnell Washington, bigger than Pitts. Can catch just as well. He can be a top notch dude and give a lot of trouble.
For sure, and I hope that he can, come in, get a grasp of the playbook, get a grasp of the NFL, and come out and be a contributor for Pittsburgh so that this offense can really turn around and change everything that they're doing. Also, I would like to see someone else other than Najee Harris run the ball. I mean, 77 carries for 379 yards. Jaylen Warren was the next guy. He played 16 games. He averaged more yards than Harris did. He had just as long, one touchdown. It's something to think about. You can't just come out this offense anyway. You can't just come out running the ball or passing the ball. This offense needs to be balanced. They need to be able to come out and move the ball balanced down the field and also score. So for me, I got Pittsburgh gonna win 6 to 9 games, man, because I'm fearful of the offense. The offense has underperformed tremendously, and I would like to see the offense do leaps and bounds better, and Kenny Pickett is going to have to be the man to get that done, regardless if Washington can't get it done in the first 10 games of the season. He can't get on page with the offense. It has to be Pickett. It has to be the quarterback. The quarterback has to be the one to do this. He has to go out and win these games. He needs to be distributing the rock. It's going to fall on this guy to get this done. 6 to 9 wins for me. I think they're the worst team. I think they're the worst team. I think they're the worst. Personally, I think they end up being, a rebuild type of phase. They're the worst in the North for me.
All right. Yeah. Pittsburgh's a big old wonder for sure. But we'll jump over here. Cleveland Browns. Another tough one. Could be a good team, could be a bad team. See how it plays out. But best position group, I'm going to give it to running backs, despite the fact that Hunt is not there. Potential. I'm sure you guys will touch on DNs. That's a great unit over there. But Chubb should be best running back in the league. He is arguably the best running back in the league for the past 4 years, whether you want to give it to the win his honors or not. The dude's just talented. He finds the hole. If there's no hole, he'll go outside. He can catch. I know that was mostly they filled in Hunt for that, but he was still able to do it here and there. Big workload though coming this year, unless one of these young bucks step up and fill in. So it'll be interesting. But I still like Chubb and that running back group. For me, worst position group though, I'm gonna go QB again. I just think Deshaun, another one of the just big question mark. He didn't show what he could do last season. It was, I don't know, too much on his mind, whatever it was. He didn't have enough practice. However you want to play it out, however your excuse wanted to be, he did not look anything near what he was in Houston, and Houston was a worse team than the Browns were. He's got a good group of dudes around him, and I just don't want him to hold them back. And unfortunately, I kind of see that being the scenario. So, needs to win the division as the offense plays smart and they plays consistent drives. Maybe not rely on Deshaun Watson. Let it be fall on the shoulders of your great play calling coach. The dude knows what he's doing.
Be balanced.
So yeah, and then with these D tackles that they're bringing over, they have a plethora for rotation at D tackle. I don't know if they're trying to be like Philly and just new guy in every 3 downs, fresh dudes that go in there and hit. But yeah, let them do their thing. I still have them at low end 7, high end 11 wins. But I have trouble seeing them beat high scoring offenses the way they are.
Wow.
Very well said. Very well said. And you're right. And Chubb doesn't get the shine he deserves. He's almost like a better version of what Frank Gore was previous to him, which is just real low
Mm.
key, quiet guy, just goes out and just balls out consistently, whether it's power or whether it's speed after he gets to the outside. He's super impressive. And watch out for Jerome Ford. Me and Eddie talked about him
Yeah.
last year a couple of times. Seen him in the preseason last season. I'm anxious to see if his role gets expanded now.
Yeah, I think this is
With
a
Kareem
reason why
Hunt out
not
the
to get
door.
Hunt back on.
Exactly. Kids very talented. So I like that you chose the running backs. And you're not wrong about Deshaun Watson. He's gotta put last season completely behind him. I personally think he will. For my best, I was going to go the wide receiver group, and it's not names of names, but that's a really good group when I looked at it. But I ultimately settled on the secondary. Just the amount of talent there, and they've grossly underperformed. But you're talking about stack on stack on stack of first round draft picks at corner. When you're talking about Denzel Ward, Greg Newsome, the Emerson kid out of NC State who made plays last year. You still got Grant Delpit, and you bring over a solid veteran in Juan Thornhill from Kansas City, who was quietly the leader back there in the secondary. It was no wonder that the young corners that they plugged in were able to play so well because the safety position with him and what's his name? Who's the other safety over there that they brought from the Texans last year? Anyways, um, I really like him a lot. For me, the weak spot there is kind of what you guys were talking about with the D line. Obviously, Miles Garrett is an animal. But the depth and the pieces behind him, inconsistent. Some of them journeyman. Some of them, you talk about Dalvin Tomlinson. How much can he be on the field consistently? Zadarius Smith obviously had a really good year last year. Can he double that again? Because he was on the downslope previous to last year. And then you got, Alex Wright coming out of UAB, his second season. He does have a lot of talent, but he's got to put it all together. They drafted Inca out of Baylor, big nose tackle type guy. But overall, I really wouldn't call a weak spot on the Browns when I looked at them head to toe. There might be some that don't stand out as good. Obviously, when you're talking about Deshaun Watson having to raise his level, there's no doubt about it. But I've got them from 7 to 11 wins. I think they're going to be competitive this year. And this is a team that 2 years ago, 3 years ago, they were in the playoffs and looking like they were the next up, instead of Buffalo. Obviously, they took a massive step back here the past couple of years, but that's all the talent on that team. I don't see why they can't, especially being led by Stefanski. How are you looking at the Browns?
Yeah, I got Cleveland. Best is definitely D line for me. The dudes are studs. Miles Garrett is just stud across the board. You drafted some young guys. Ika at a Baylor or Oregon, I think Baylor. And, just big, huge dude to clog the middle. It's sad about their first round draft pick that they ended up having to cut from a season ago, who ended up having some sort of issue with domestic. But for me, the worst is the secondary. I think the secondary letting up, 3,000 yards, them only passing for 3,000 yards. I think that I think also him getting hurt, Denzel Ward going down and getting hurt like he did last season, him going down. I think the defense. I think the defense overall is going to be good, but I think that they got some young guys, and that's a position that could get better for me in my eyes. I think that they have room to get better. Pretty much very young. The guy that you were talking about, Rodney McLeod, Leod,
Talk about right.
the safety, 12 years, and yeah, they got Thornhill, but yeah, I mean, a lot of question marks for me on that. You know, you're getting rid of Greedy, who I know Charlie never really liked to begin with, but he's gone. You got the 1 and 2, Newsom and Ward, but you know, the depth after that, who's gonna back any one of them guys up when they get hurt? I just don't know that I like the depth that they have in secondary. But for me, winning the division, what that's gonna take for me is definitely going to be Deshaun Watson and what Deshaun can do for that offense. Because whether the defense can weather the storm and get off the field without letting up any points, which they're capable of doing, and have a solid, well-rounded team, I think in the end of all of it, it comes back to Deshaun no matter what in this type of situation. You know, it's like we're not talking about this with the Kansas City Chiefs, Mahomes, right? We're just talking about who's going to beat them. No one is saying like, all right, you know, Mahomes better do it this year. Like, he's solidified. We know he's going to come out and ball, you know?
Sure.
It's, are they going to execute? Are they going to do the little things at an elite level all season so that they could stay on top? But for me, in a Cleveland Browns situation, is this guy going to be who we drafted? Can he come out of the darkness from his decisions, the choices he made, and the things that happened in his life? Is this man going to rise above the occasion and be who he was on the Texans with DeAndre Hopkins and being the type of, you know, quarterback who just gets it done week in and week out and it didn't matter? You know, like, are we going to see that guy? And for me, that's why it has to be Deshaun. This team goes nowhere if he doesn't go somewhere. 8-11 wins for me. I think the Cleveland Browns are a well-rounded team no matter what. They're going to be in the hunt. And I do think that Deshaun is going to – it's been so quiet for him. The noise is gone. He's got his clarity. He's going to come out. I think week 1 we're going to see a strong Deshaun Watson moving forward. 8-11 wins for me.
I like it.
All right, that wraps up AFC North. Tough battles. All of us have a basically, you know, everyone fighting for, you know, the title there.
Yeah.
But let's jump over. We're going to go AFC South. First team, Jacksonville Jaguars. Hot and ready team, apparently.
Yeah.
You know, I think 3 polls have them as like the 4th best team in the AFC or something like that. Kind of a little crazy, but we'll see. Best position group for me is pass catchers. You can't deny what Kirk, Jones, and Ingram did last year. You bring them all back, and you add Ridley, who, according to reports, hasn't missed a step besides outside of missing his 2 years or whatever, you know. So it'll be interesting. You know, everybody was laughing when they made Kirk the highest paid wide receiver in the league, and then he's like, all right, fine, laugh at me while I catch the 60-yard touchdown and another one and another one and another one. So those pass catchers are top notch, and they make it easy work for Lawrence, for a well-coached Lawrence. I'll say that. Sure. Worst position group, I'm going to go O-line. It wasn't a terrible group last year, but they lost the tackle Jawan Taylor to the Chiefs. That's a huge hit. The left guard there, it's still a work in progress because you got Ben Barch coming back from his injury, and the Tyler Shatley guy that filled in for him wasn't the best. He had ran into some issues, so that O-line needs to play well in order to keep Lawrence safe, in order for him not to be thinking outside the box. He's an inside the box QB, so needs to win the division. Defense needs to keep opposing teams from running up the score. Keep it close because I think you don't want to force Lawrence to play aggressive. You let him play cool, calm, collective. that's a tough team to beat. So with that, I'm putting them at a 10-12 range wins.
Yeah, I think you nailed it. I went offensive weapons. I couldn't settle whether I liked the tight ends better, or the wide receivers. So I just went offensive weapons. You named all the wide receivers, and it's latent with talent. You look at the backfield, you got ETN, and you draft the Tanks Bigsby, and then you look at the tight end position. Obviously, Evan Ingram finally blossomed into the first round potential that everybody thought he could be with the New York Giants. He came over, fresh change of scenery, good scheme, balled out. And then you go and draft Brenton Strange out of Penn State, which I really like. He's like an H-back type. He can block very well, but he has good route running and good hands. So if anything does get dinged up with Ingram, which he does have the history of getting, little injuries here and there, I think that he'll fill in quite nicely and won't miss too much of a beat. And I agree with you, on the weak spot of the team, and it's this offensive line. I won't, talk a lot about it, but it's unproven, and they definitely have depth issues there.
Yeah.
And that could really hurt an offense that is predicated on speed and timing, kind of modeled after a KC offense. So it's big. You still got a young quarterback in Lawrence, and let's not forget, there's a lot of hype around them, but they only won 9 games last year. They snuck in the playoffs. They won the division, and then they proved that they deserved to be there with their the playoff victory. So I think that was a great stepping stone for a young team. I've got them floor 8 wins, ceiling 13. They are in a weaker of the AFC divisions, on paper as we go through things. So I think by default, probably going to, accumulate a couple of wins just within the division. But, you got to do it again for me, and do it during the regular season. I think they started off something like 3-7 last year. For me, you can't fall in that kind of hole again. They were very lucky with a weak AFC South last year to go ahead and win that, but the talent's there. Talent is definitely there, and Lawrence showed me some things last year to where, I kind of reserve my judgment on him for another season. Um, he did very well in a lot of instances, and you could see him grow as the year went on. So, 8-13 wins for me. How about you, Eddie?
Yeah, offensive line for me. I would just like to see a little bit better play. Out of the offensive line, they have some good guys. I think Cam Robinson. I don't want to.
Yeah.
I feel like Cam Robinson got injured. No, it was Devontae Hamilton. No, it's Josh Wells is out.
Oh, you're talking about right now?
Yeah. But I would just like to see the offensive line play a little better for them.
And they addressed it in the offseason. Then they bring over Taylor Lewan.
Yeah.
No, they lost Taylor.
No, they lost Lewan.
They lost Juwan Taylor.
Where did he
Chiefs.
go? Lewan.
I think Lewan came to Jacksonville, didn't he?
No,
I'm mixing them up.
From Tennessee.
Oh no, Lewan. No, Lewan's not signed.
I'm mixing them up.
Yeah, Lewan's not. I don't think Lewan is. I don't think he's signed. I would just 28 sacks. You don't want to see 28 sacks. They're a good team. You know what I mean? They're I like Jacksonville. Like you said, Jard, they gotta prove themselves. They gotta do a little bit more on offense. They gotta score some more points. 23 points a game offensively. I love the linebackers for them. They got good linebackers on the roster. Yeah, I think 8 to 11 wins for me is good, only because of how bad I think their division is. I mean, what are you going to get with the turmoil and everything that's happening with the Indianapolis Colts? You got a rookie quarterback at Indy. You got a rookie quarterback with the Texans. Who's the quarterback going to be for the Titans? Because now we have, Hopkins. Now we're where we need to be all of a sudden. I don't know. I just think that by default they win the division, right? By default, they're winners for me.
They should, but we'll see.
I mean, because who else is going to beat them in the division? I mean, yeah, the Titans are a well-coached team, right? But for me,
NFL's wild.
It was
Yep.
Brandon Sheriff that they brought over
Shreff,
from
yeah,
Washington.
Shreff.
That was their
Yeah.
That's
big.
their oldest offensive lineman. They got a young core.
Yeah.
Yeah, as I Taylor Lewan, he's podcasting now.
Yeah, he's retired.
So basically, I mean, they say he's a free agent still looking, but I guess no one's really put money to the pocket yet. So,
Man, those
but we ready to
linebackers.
move on?
Yeah.
We ready to move on next team? All right. Tennessee Titans. I want to say Derrick Henry here for best group. He's just a ridiculously good running back. But I'm going to change it up to. I'm going to go D line here. Three big men in the middle. They're hard to run against. And then, speaking of the podcast with Luan there on Bussin' with the Boys with the other guy, I forget his name, but Vrabel was on there and he joked because they were talking about, who'd win a fight between you and Dan Campbell. And he was talking and he goes, I believe I win a fight against anybody and anybody anywhere except for Jeffrey Simmons.
Ooh.
So he's like, he knows how big and scary that man is. So
Right.
that D line, if one of the arguably the best, one of the best, top 5 coaches in the league is saying you're too scary to fight, then you got something there on D line. So I like the D line for best position group. Worst position group, I'm gonna go linebackers. Outside linebacker Landry coming off ACL injury. Other positions are being filled with like next man up. None have serious starters. It's an issue that they got to address and overcome in order to be a scary team. Needs to win to the division is Hopkins earns his paycheck. Burks builds off of being opposite to an elite wide receiver like Hopkins. Burks shined a little bit last year. Now you give him something to work with. And then obviously whatever QB goes out there plays above expectation. You need something magical to happen. I got them low side 6, high side 10.
Very nice, very nice. It's almost like you read my sheet. I went running back room. I think Eddie went running back room too. We were kind of
Yeah.
chatting pre-show.
Yeah.
Derrick Henry, enough said about him, but I'm impressed with the depth. That's really why I picked the running back room. Drafting Tajay Spears, who I'm really high out of Tulane on. Hassan Haskins, who did have some kind of legal trouble, and I forgot what it was earlier in the off season. But a kid I loved coming out of Michigan. And then Julius Chestnut, who put together quietly a couple of good games. So that position group right there, and they already like to run the ball. I think is the most solid position group on the team. I love me some Jeffrey Simmons though. And then I went linebacker, but as I was thinking about it, and there's no doubt in my mind that the linebacking core is weak, but you touched on that. I'm gonna go quarterback. And damn, ripping
That's
off
what
everybody. All right, I'm trying.
That's what I did.
When I wrap it all together for the Tennessee Titans, and I won't name the names of the quarterbacks and stuff like that. That is the spot to where it's either a 4-win season for them, or maybe they get up to 9. You know what I mean? Like if they can get somebody solid behind center and it clicks with Hopkins and the passing game is decent, I can see them winning 9 games. I'm more towards the lower side of things, though. I think this is going to be problematic. I think it's going to bleed over into other areas. There already seems some kind of turmoil between, Vrabel and the front office. Some moves that they've made here over the past couple of seasons. Obviously, A.J. Brown leaving and then drafting quarterback after quarterback in the second round. I don't think he's happy with any of that stuff. So I feel like the Tennessee Titans could be on the verge of a clean slate rebuild by the end of the year.
Yeah.
So I went 4 to 9 just because the Titans, it's well coached.
Yeah.
He's not far under a Tomlin, talking about leader of men and putting
Yeah.
together a good squad for me. But that's where I got. How about you, Ed?
Yeah, I got best in favorite group running backs simply because we still haven't not seen Derrick Henry not be capable, and then the just absolute ceiling and the upside of what Tajay Spears could bring from Tulane, a hard runner. I really like it, and then you also have Chestnut, Scarred Heart is, and Haskins if, the legal troubles are, pushed away. 6'2", 228-pound running back out of Michigan. He's definitely talented. For me, the worst quarterback room, not because these guys are truly bad, right? because, I mean, we really haven't seen anything. We haven't seen enough from Malik Willis to say he's bad. We haven't seen enough from Will Levis to say he's bad. There are some intangibles with him that probably could make him good, maybe not great, but there are some question marks with Malik Willis and also Levis. Tannehill, it's bad because, all right, the Tannehill experiment hasn't worked. He's been there for X amount of seasons. The best you've got was number one and out. And to me, I mean, how many times can you keep trying that until you say to yourself, okay, this for my system and what I do, having a game manager just isn't enough, or change the game plan to where things are a little bit different. I just think that what is going to get them to win, right, is the quarterback position. Again, it's like, I hate doing this, but I just feel like there's so many teams that have such big issues with solely the quarterback position. If you were to do some swapping and swapping, I mean, like, a lot of these teams would get over the hump, but the fact that they don't have that person that is just commanding these dubs, it's just another well-coached team. I'm thinking 6-9 only because of how well-coached they are. 6 because they're well-coached. 9 because I just don't even see them getting it together. I mean, the defense is going to show up and play. They're going to be able to run the ball, right? But when it comes down to throwing the ball deep and commanding a lead, coming back from behind, which will happen in this league we're in, I don't know if I see it in the Titans. The Titans are going to have to show me some stuff, man. They have to come out screaming in preseason. 6-9 wins, bro.
When it comes to the Titans, I look at them as like the anti-San Francisco, because any quarterback San Francisco touches, they get 10 wins.
Yeah.
For Tennessee, it almost, when you look at top to bottom, and you're right, some of the reservations and maybe judgments a little early on some of the stuff, but we've seen a lot of Tannehill, and it's athletes at the quarterback position that aren't truly quarterbacks up here, and it takes a balance of both of them. You can be extremely athletic, but if you can't put it together up here, process defenses and get your team in good situations consistently, we've seen Tannehill be good. We've seen him, but when he's bad, he's very bad, and it almost turns the game over for Tennessee. So it's tough. It's a tough stuff.
It almost looks like, pardon my French, it almost looks like some of these throws are fuck it. Cincinnati Bengal playoff game, first series of the game, fuck it. That's what it looked like. I mean, Cincinnati ends up getting 3 out of that because, again, like I said, that defense is going to show up for Vrabel, and they're going to show up and they're going to show out and they're going to play because they're grit. They're fucking grit, that defense. All right, but offensively, it's like, dude, you can't do that. That's ugly. I mean, they tried to come back in that game, but it's just Burrow. It's just what I just said. It's like they couldn't come back from that because they can't throw themselves out of a wet paper bag with a hole in it. I'm sorry. My bad. Let's get it.
All righty. Now ready to move on here?
Yes, sir.
All right, let's jump into a team. We'll talk about front office issues all day and player issues. We'll go Indianapolis Colts here because they are full of it.
Jim Irsay, what a duck.
Oof. Yeah, but he's okay. Continuing on. Indianapolis Colts, though. Best position group. I'm going D tackle. The 2 big men there, DeForest Buckner and Grover Stewart, are beasts.
Yeah.
DeForest Buckner. I don't know if you guys remember from last season. I talked about guys that I wanted to see step up. And I labeled DeForest Buckner because A, he needed to, B, he needed to for himself in order for him to get his paycheck this year, because it was like that cutoff deal and he gets a giant paycheck this year. But yeah, last year that man had 3 pass defenses, 2 forced fumbles, 8 sacks, 44 solo tackles, 11 tackle for losses, 22 QB hits, and he's a defensive tackle. And then that just opens up for Grover Stewart, who's a little bit bigger than him, but maybe not quite as athletic, and he had to do 3 pass defenses, 4 sacks, 44 solo tackles, 9 tackle for losses, 7 QB hits. These are D tackles that are also getting back there to your quarterback and causing problems. So if the rest of the defense, which then jumps me into the worst position group, can keep up, it could be a good defense, but I'm going corners as the worst position group because Kenny Moore's like their only returning corner, and he came off of a bad season after getting paid. We talked about that in the before the show even started, where players get paid, they kind of slack off a little bit. I'm not saying that happened, but the kind of way it looks will happen here with Kenny Moore.
Does happen.
But yeah, everybody else, they're playing corners, next man up, no real starting time. So it'll be a test on those corners in a passing league, as we've said for others. For them to win the division, that O-line needs to play what they were hyped up to 2 years ago. This is supposed to be the best O-line that the NFL's ever seen, and it's not quite getting there. Obviously, talk about issues. They need to fix the issues with Taylor, so he's happy, can perform to his ceiling. They just lost their backup running back Moss to a broken arm today.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting. One more thing to add here for them to win the division is Eachin has to be the next coach of the year and finds a way to have Richardson play at the level at which you drafted him. You drafted him at 4. You got to find for him to way to play at a QB, the top QB play. But it's still tough. It's hard for him to see it, especially with that defense outside those D tackles. I'm only putting them at like a 6 to 9 range as well.
Yeah, Colts. Oh, it's such a hit. It's such a hit when your team's handcuffing your team.
This was so easy to do this one.
Best I went linebacker core. I definitely could have gone D line because you're absolutely right, Brady. And that's where it starts up front. But Zaire Franklin, EJ Speed, and Shaq Leonard coming back off the injury, a full season removed. And I like the kid, former safety out of Nebraska, JoJo Doman. I liked him as a rookie last year coming into the league. Hopefully he gets a little bit more playing time. A little bit of an undersized, but a nickel guy you can put in there who's former safety, like I said, and can definitely bring some nice things to the table. But the before mentioned 3, top notch, can run, play the pass, very athletic, and the defense. With the secondary being as banged up and as bad as it was in the secondary part, they played really well, and they were the only thing keeping the Colts in games every game last year. They held the Kansas City Chiefs to, I believe, below 23 points when they played early in the season, and that was behind anemic quarterback play that they got out of their quarterbacks last year. So, yeah, that defensive unit is definitely the strength overall. And then the weak point, I went quarterback. Because I don't know what I'm going to get out of Richardson. And if they have any shot at winning this division, he's going to have to be a hit because I don't think Gardner Minshew is going to navigate them through. And then if you're going to tell me Taylor is not going to be there as well, it's going to take way more than whatever Minshew's ceiling is to make them viable to win. So to me, it's the quarterback position. I don't anticipate Richardson developing at a rapid rate. I think he's got quite a ways to go before he is NFL game in, game out ready to even put out there. But kid's got talent. But yeah, for me, it's the quarterback room. And man, with the Taylor news, unfortunately, they could be one of the worst teams in the NFL this year. They really could. I had them at 5 to 8 wins. I think I got to dial that back because I don't see that situation getting fixed when you're talking about ownership. So I'm gonna dial it back from the floor of 5 wins and the ceiling of 8 wins to 3 to 6, honestly. And Irsay better be careful. He's gonna be the younger, crazier version of Jerry Jones here in no time.
Yeah,
he already is.
Yeah, Indianapolis Colts for me. I picked their offensive line best position because of the absolute depth. I love Blake Freeland, 6'7", 300-pounder out of BYU. Okay, I like Matthew Vanderslice, 6'8", 329-pounder out of Northern Iowa. Okay, he's going to come down and ball. And plus, you still have the studs that are anchored, Braden Smith, and also absolute just monster of a guard, Quentin Nelson. Battled some injuries last season. So did Smith. These boys are coming back healthy. And now you're telling me you drafted 2 absolute monsters at 6'7" and 6'8", and you still got some 6'9" guys on the squad at 346 pounds. Jordan Murray out of North Texas from a season ago. This offensive line barring injuries, could still sustain a rushing game that is top 5, I think. I do believe the absolute worst position is the quarterback position. What the hell is going on, and why did you pick him at that spot? And what would it take for them? You don't even want to see what I really wrote. But what would it take for them to be successful in the division, which wouldn't take much, ladies and gentlemen? I wrote it would take a fucking miracle season from a rookie quarterback for them to win the division. And they only really have to beat 2 teams out of the 4 teams in the division, right? I said a miracle, people. Okay, the sky's going to have to open up, and Yellow Brick Road is just going to have to just be building itself on the way to the Super Bowl in order for them to hoist this trophy up. Not happening. Plus, with the mouth on the owner that they got over there, Jim Irsay is going to talk himself into a whole entire locker room of guys just not wanting to play for them and just taking the money and don't get hurt this season. You keep talking the way you're talking. This guy literally said if Jonathan Taylor died tomorrow, the league would keep playing. Bro, if you sold your team tomorrow, nobody would give a shit about you. What is your point in your comment? Like, you're just so full of, you're like, what is your fucking point in that? Why did you say that to him? Like, why did you say that to the only person who did anything on your offense? Are you fucking delirious?
He's out there with the groundskeeper clearing lines.
Sorry for this. 5 to 8 wins. I mean, and that's if you shut your mouth, Irsay.
Yeah, that man's got his string of DUIs in case you weren't aware of. But
exactly, bro.
He might have been giving himself a couple there before the press conference.
This dude's like, when I'm done putting my whole wrist in my mouth.
Watch
fucking
this.
Jackass, bro.
All right. So Colts potential dumpster fire if they continue
absolute dumpster fire.
Continue down the trend that they're going, which is sad to see. I like Indianapolis Colts, and I like a lot of the dudes
they
there.
Have a lot of talent, talent, and it's gonna go to waste.
Yeah, but we'll go next group here. Houston Texans. Interesting potential here. Best position group here. I'm going running back. Dameon Pierce was huge for them last season. He was Rookie of the Year candidate. You bring over Singletary from the Bills, should be a good rotation piece with him. You know, he was a feature back there with the Bills, helped them out a lot, and now he gets to be a 1-2 combo with Pierce. It could be a scary running back group if this O-line and the play calling works in favor of them. Worst position group, I'm going to go wide receivers, similar to New England Patriots. There's not really a true number one. You know, you got Woods, Nico Collins, John Mechie, Tank Dell, the rookie, Noah Brown you brought over, and Xavier Hutchinson. I mean, these guys might be wide receiver 3s. I mean, I know Woods was good at one point, but he's getting age there. Not his speed, his quickness isn't quite there. So these are like wide receiver 3s on other teams. You know, a lot of the NFL, if that. So it's hard for me to be afraid of the pass here, and that's where this quarterback you brought in is supposed to excel at. So for me to need to win the division is C.J. Stroud plays clean football, mistake free, gets these wide receivers looking pretty, and then D'Amico Ryans has this defense tight and low scoring. You know, that's how this team gets wins. It's low scoring, almost like Lovie Smith football. You know, if he wins 12-10, he's happy. You know, so I see that's how this team's going to end up getting wins out there. I got them at the 4 to 8 range, depending on how well C.J. Stroud can play and how well these wide receivers work with him.
Yeah, it was for Houston. It was tough to narrow down a best because I didn't love any particular unit. There are players out there that I do like on the roster, but I think I guess I'll just couple it in with what has to happen for them to have a successful season. I went O-line. I ultimately went O-line. Obviously, Laramie Tunzel. They drafted Kenyon Green last year, and he was the most penalized guard in the league. I think he was top 10 offensive linemen across the board. But he was a rookie, and we've seen rookie guards and tackles struggle out the gates their rookie season. He was a very talented kid. I liked him a lot in the draft last year. I think he can grow. They signed Shaq Mason. And they gave a big contract to Titus Howard, who had a decent year. He was the 49th graded out offensive lineman last year. The the Texans definitely struggled offensive line wise last year and lack of playmakers and such. But you're not wrong with what Damian Pierce was able to do that first half of the season as well. And part of the reason why he was able to do that, offensive line. And I think ultimately, if the Texans are going to build a little bit off of what they were able to muster up last year, they're going to have to protect C.J. Stroud, and they're going to have to run the ball and be balanced. So I went O-line, and then for the weakest part, I ended up, I know you went running backs. I went running back room just because what's behind Pierce, I don't like at all. You're talking about Mike Boone, and you're talking about Devin Singletary, you brought over from Buffalo. Never been impressed with that kid. If Pierce can stay healthy, absolute stud, and that brings that whole room up.
Yeah.
But Pierce did get dinged up. He runs very hard, his style. So it did, for me, that
Blue
was the
collar.
weakest part. I got him a 6 to 8 win season though, because I think C.J. Stroud is going to have a good enough year. I think he's going to have the best year out of the rookie quarterbacks, and I think he'll be insulated. I think he'll be protected. You're right. They're going to want to play good defense, and they're going to want to run the ball and stay balanced. So that's what I got for Houston. I got him 6 to 8 wins. How about you?
Houston, best defensive front for me. Will Anderson Jr., Ali Gay at LSU, two incredible rookies they drafted. Jonathan Greenard, Jerry Hughes aging like fine wine. Chase Winovich, Derek Rivers, Malik Collins. I like up front. Roy Lopez. I like them boys up front, man. Got some hogs up there. Like the boys up front. Sheldon Rankins, they just signed. Hassan Ridgeway. Yeah, I mean, they got some dudes up front. I like the trenches up front for the D-line of the Texans. Obviously, Charlie knew me already. He knew the running back room I didn't like. There's no depth there. You got one guy who's doing well, and then you got a bunch of guys on the roster that's like, dude, if you don't do well, you're out of here. I just don't like the depth for them. Really, what do they have to do? I mean, no different than a handful of other teams. I just say we're going to need miracle play out of the quarterback for them to stay relevant in a division which is top heavy of the Jacksonville Jaguars and the Tennessee Titans. I think miracle play out of the rookie quarterback is what will transcend them into the direction in which they need to go. Team played hard last year. I expect nothing less from them this year. I do think that they will play better than the Indianapolis Colts, even though I think the Colts are a more talented team. I think the coaching staff will get these boys ready to come play. Also, I'm thinking 4-7 with the wins just because I think this team's got heart and they're going to fight. I think with the top-heavy attitude of the Indianapolis Colts, it's really going to get in the way of that. So I think they're going to sit at the bottom. I think the Texans will move up a slot this year and begin to start transcending and moving into the direction in which we're looking at the Titans now.
Like it.
Yep.
Yeah, they got some draft picks on the Watson trade too, so they do have the ability, if they hit.
Star stack.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's potential there for the future. It's hard to see it this year for them.
No lie.
But we'll continue on. That was the AFC South. Let's go AFC West. Potential best division in the league. Potential here. Hard fought teams across the board. Obviously, Super Bowl champs here. KC number 1. So Kansas City Chiefs. Best position group for me, I'm going offensive synergy. The way that head coach Reed, Mahomes, their tight end, Kelsey, who's their best catcher on the team, they're all on the same page. They think very similarly. They can get creative while making very few mistakes. So things aren't going their way. Let's change it up, and they can change it up on the fly during the play, and it's going to run smoothly. Not very, very. I say not many. Very few teams can pull that off. If more than 2 teams in this league can pull it off consistently that well. Worst position group, I'm going to go wide receivers, and it's just because another one of those things. It's similar to Houston, similar to New England. There's not a true number 1 that screams out you at the page outside of Kelsey, and that's why I'm saying receivers here. Vlad Scantling, Moore, Kadarius Toney, who's going to need surgery, Justin Watson. these guys don't jump off the page at you. There's a lot that they need to do in order to help this team win. But they're all going to benefit from having the best QB in the league, throwing the ball to them to make them look better. So needs to win the division. Is the new rule change for the read option doesn't take away too much of that playbook, and make them more readable to defenses.
Well said.
That's my worry for them, is that the new rule change makes them play more vanilla versus the rainbow 70 flavored sherbet that offense that they were throwing at you. Now you just got to do vanilla ice cream. Either I'm running the ball or I'm passing it, kind of thing. But I still have them at a 13 up to 16 win team.
For sure, dude.
Could have very easily went with the Andy Reid thing. Definitely could have gone Patrick Mahomes. I took the best unit though, the linebacking core. Willie Gay, Nick Bolton, Drew Tranquill coming over from the Chargers last year, and they drafted Leo Chanel out of Wisconsin last year, who showed up and made plays as well. Defensive line for me was a close second right behind that.
Yeah,
but those linebackers are young, fast, instinctive, and they get to play behind that good defensive line as well. I'll double down with the weak core is the receiving core. It's tough, man. MVS never been known as a possession type catch and traffic guy. Had a wonderful season last year, and I'm happy to see it because I'm a fan of his. But Sky Moore, drop issues last year. Young kid, highly drafted, highly talented, but is he that playmaker? You talk about Tony. We all know he's a playmaker with the ball in space, but can he stay healthy? And then you talk about drafting Rice, which I do like that kid. He's probably the piece I like the best. But you're bringing over Richie James and Justin Ross coming off of massive injuries. Talented, but it's been a long time since he's played a lot of football, going back to his days at Clemson. I do like the Justin Watson kid, but he's just he's a possession guy. He's not gonna get with speed. So when I look at Kansas City overall, obviously highly talented. I don't like the Chris Jones holdout thing. I hope they get that buttoned up. I don't like moving on from the offensive lineman Orlando, but it's business. It is what it is. For me,
Oh
no.
Yeah. What do we got here?
Hold on, ladies and gentlemen. Technical difficulties.
Get a little internet issue here. Yeah, I mean, Kansas City is basically.
But I don't know how much more you can tighten the reins with these wide receivers. That's the part that scares me. And the league got to look at it a year last year, but you got one of the best offensive minds in the game, one of the best, if not the best, quarterback in the game as well. So I don't say that they can't do it. I think they're going to have some trouble with some things. I got them 8 to 12 wins.
Yeah, I mean, Kansas City for me, it was a tough spot to pick. The trenches for me, I believe that the trenches outside of Mahomes is literally what makes this whole entire thing possible for them. I know you pointed out the linebacking core, which was arguably third on my list. The reason why I didn't take the offensive line is because of the reason they allowed Orlando to walk. That's why I didn't take them. I took the D line because, I had George Karlaftis as defensive player of the year. The year he was drafted, he got 6 sacks that year. Mike Dana, defensive end, got 5 sacks. You're also looking at Chris Jones with 15. I know they lost Clark, but I don't think that's going to be too big of a year, big of a deal this year for them moving forward. Because again, I really think that Karlaftis is going to end up really coming into form this season, with getting all the weight on and understanding the playbook and doing everything and getting acclimated to the speed. I really like Karlaftis and that D-line moving forward. For me, what was the worst for me, the worst position for me on the squad was the secondary for me. I mean, they still got some studs over there. I like the 2 corners that they got. They got 2 nice corners. But they're letting up some yardage, some big plays. I think that they need to button that up. Also, make Chris Jones happy because he's got 15 sacks, and that's a majority of your sacks last season coming from the interior, the defensive line, which is going to force these guys to the edge on why Carliff's got 6, on why Dana has 5 or 6 or something like that. And this is attributing to what he's doing in the middle. I mean, there's some guys, some linebackers got a couple sacks here and there, but a majority of their sacks have came from the line of scrimmage. What not to do this season? I didn't even try to factor in the idea of the rule change for the Kansas City Chiefs, guys. So that one flew right over my head. But what I did take a look at is don't shoot yourself in the foot. Don't you be the reason why you lose games. Lose games because they beat you, not because you beat yourself. Okay, just keep doing what you're doing and being successful at what you're doing and game planning, and just keep being the Kansas City Chiefs led by Andy Reid, and everything's going to work itself out at the end of the season. I mean, they're going to take care of injuries. They're going to take care of everything because it's a well-coached squad, an incredible organization. And moving forward right now, ladies and gentlemen, whether you want to hear it or not, Kansas City Chiefs are the best damn team in the league, and there's no one else that's even coming close right now. So until someone else comes close, then they're it right now all season, Kansas City Chiefs. What am I looking at? I'm looking at a 10 to 14 win season, definitely playoffs, definitely going to win the division, definitely going to be seeing them in the last game of the AFC Championship game. They'll be one of the last teams for sure. Who else will it be? I don't know. Another show. What do you got, guys?
All right. Yeah, KC's tough team. They didn't lose too much here in the offseason, so it'll be tough for these other teams. They all got to take a big step up to keep up with them.
No doubt.
But next team here, Los Angeles Chargers. Quiet offseason, unfortunately. We all wanted more from them. But for me, best position group here, I'm going to go wide receivers, probably stealing it from you guys. But you got the 3 biggest wide receivers that you can have on one team all catching the ball with Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, Quentin Johnson. And if teams continue to keep drafting these smaller corners, you can just play jump ball right now between Herbert and these guys, and they're going to just keep pushing the ball downfield on you. So I like those wide receivers, and not to mention that they're all just good wide receivers in general outside of being big. So it'll be interesting how they get to use those weapons. Worst position group for me is the front 7, and this isn't a knock on Joey Bosa or Khalil Mack. Bosa only played 5 games last year with the groin injury. Mack has more to prove to be a big threat. He's on later end of his career here, and outside of those 2, there's nothing there in that front 7 that gives you trouble. Those D tackles aren't the scariest. The linebackers behind them. They tried doing something with bringing guys in. Kyle Van Noy a couple years ago, nothing really worked out, nothing stuck. So I think they're just trying to do homegrown talent here, and I don't know if it's going to pay off or not. So, Brandon Staley wanted a tough run defense, but they were bottom 5 last year. So I'm not a fan of the way that this front 7's looking. But yeah, needs to win the division as Staley proves that he's a coach. He can coach a team and a powerful defense because he's got a pretty good offense. He just needs that defense that he's supposed to be specialty in to work on. Obviously that I said wide receiver trio helps out Herbert, outscore these heavy hitters because if that defense isn't stopping teams, you need to score a lot of points here. And then another running back situation here. Get Eckler happy. He's vital to that offense. He's a huge piece. Got to make that man happy. I have them in the 9 wins if things don't quite work out. If everything goes as planned, the defense plays above expectation, I can see them getting 13. So I'm going 9-13 range.
Well said. I'm along the same lines. I went best. And Eddie will be happy to hear it. I went Justin Herbert. Coupling him in with the new OC, Kellen Moore. Kellen Moore's offense fits Justin Herbert and vice versa because it's a vertical passing game. You talked about the big wide receivers. I think Justin can have a very high-end year this year. For me, the weak spot, you touched on it briefly, it's coaching in the front office for the Chargers, Brandon Staley, namely. Too many times over the past 2 years since Staley's been the head coach have they blown it at the end of games or coming out of half in games. The leadership, we've talked about it with some of the coaches, that we tout, and that's why, it's the difference makers. They might not have the most talented roster, but just leadership helps them get over the hump. It helps them bounce over things of changes of offensive line and Tyreek Hill's leaving and all this stuff. Here with the Chargers, it's the polar opposite for me. I've got them on the bottom end of coaching. I mean, just the amount of talent the Chargers have had over the past 2 or 3 years, it's been a waste, and that's what they've kind of been known for, is underachieving. The potential's there for them to do it, just like you said. Wide range for me, 7 to 11 wins. I definitely can see them being a fringe contender at the end of the year, but I can also see them being the Chargers that they've been, and it just not working out. But Herbert's a stud. What you got?
They got best position, offensive line, just because of the sheer amount of draft picks that they've been drafting, and absolute studs who just been plugging and playing at a high level ever since they got to the team. Rashawn Slater, who's a 6'4", 315-pound guy at a Northwestern, had an incredible workout video. People were saying there's no way this guy could be a tackle. He's a guard. He played tackle at Northwestern. There's no way he can come to the pros and do that. Ladies and gentlemen, why? Because he had short arms, they said. I guess that's all that matters for you to be an offensive lineman. If you don't have long arms, then you just can't play well. Guy's a stud, ridiculous. Jamar Slayer from Georgia 2 seasons ago, guard, playing out of his mind. Zion Johnson 2 seasons ago in the same exact draft, Boston College, kids playing well. You got a good center, Corey Lindsey. You got some guys backing him up. They drafted Branch from Maryland. They're going. They're doing it again. Jordan McFadden. They got 2 linemen, stud out of Clemson. I think that position is good. I think that has nice depth there. If a guy goes down, you got another one to plug in. Worst position for me, guys, was definitely running back position. Why? Because outside of Eckler, you talking that shit and you want to trade Eckler, you want to get Eckler, because all of a sudden now, because somebody said they didn't want to pay somebody and somebody got cut, that all of a sudden the position doesn't matter. Let me tell you something. That offense is only working because of the offensive line and then the other 2 guys. I mean, for me, it's Herbert and it's the running back. It's Eckler. Okay, that's what's making everything move. Right? Because if Eckler isn't an absolute stud like he is, then everybody plays back, right? And they have nothing to fear, and they all just try and pick everybody off, size or not, you know what I mean? When you got more guys back there than you got guys catching the ball, that could be an issue. And I just think that if you're not well-rounded, this team's not going to be successful. You don't have the defense to just be shutting everybody down if you're 3 and out. Plus you're losing games in the fourth quarter. 7 to 10 wins for me. They just need to get over the hump. Like, what is it going to be? You're in a tough division. You just really got to come out, and the defense has to play as good as the offense plays. Whether, they get Eckler rolling or not, Herbert's still going to be there. He's still going to be a baller. They're still going to go out there and throw the ball. But you guys got to start helping Herbert as a team. Otherwise, it's just not going to work out, dude. I mean, you got an offensive line. They're young. You got a quarterback. You got a running back. You got a room full of big gargantuan receivers, right? I mean, you literally have the recipe. It's the defense that needs to show up more than the offense, Yeah. I mean, that's what really needs to happen. I mean, for them to win. I'm going 7 to 10, because it's tough. They're in a tough division. Maybe they win 3-4 games in the division. Maybe. I don't know, We didn't touch on Denver yet. That's another one. I don't know. There's so much I don't know.
Yep.
For Eckler, if Eckler was 6 foot tall, we would compare him exactly with McCaffrey, Barkley. Another guy like Chubb that's just so underappreciated, I feel like, because he's just amazing for them.
Yeah,
dude. Oh, yeah. He'll be, if he doesn't play for them, it's their stock drops.
Yeah, big time.
But let's move on here. Um, I still do this. I have them labeled as Oakland Raiders, but we know they're the Las Vegas Raiders.
Glad
um,
you did it.
yeah, someone's got. We're gonna do it probably 7 more times in this
Right.
in our running of the
You don't
shows
know
here.
how bad I wanted to say San Diego Chargers last time.
I'm just gonna say Raiders. That's it.
But yeah, I mean, at this point, it's what the Las Vegas mini Patriots here, the way they're trying to with
Basically.
coaching and players running around, and
Personnel, yeah.
Basically.
so. But best position group here, I'm going wide receivers, taking the easy out here with Devontae Adams. I'm also assuming that this whole Hunter Renfro news is all bogus, and they try to take a step back and they utilize him more in a big way, like he was in 2021 versus 2022. If you guys aren't aware of the news, they're saying he might even be cut, not make the team,
Wow.
stuff like this. Yeah, I don't know. Could just be one of these bogus articles I popped up on,
It happens.
but they are what they are. News is out there. Smoke fire, whatever you want to call it. And then Jacoby Myers and Philip Dorsett behind them. Those are two more guys that can take good catches, make plays out of them, and take some heat off of Devontae Adams for a little bit and get him open. Worst position group, linebackers. You got no returning starters. They're all rotation guys previously. It's going to be a rough go for them learning, taking in the 17 games of the NFL here. Needs to win the division is Mahomes and Kelsey get hurt. But jokes aside here, Garoppolo quickly develops a relationship with Adams and produces MVP numbers. That's how they're going to get up there.
It's gonna
But I
have to
have
be.
them. They're such an enigma to me. I got them 6 to 11. I don't know where to place these guys because I don't know what I'm going to get out of them.
Wow. Yeah, you're not lying. Best, I went defensive line just because I'm a Max Crosby fan. I like the uh, the addition of Tyree Wilson. Seeing the tape on him, watching going through the combine and stuff like that, seeing a lot of the highlights. I wasn't as aware of him in college, but the kid's got a lot of natural talent, burst, length. So coupling him with Crosby, nice move. You still got the veteran and Chandler Jones, who didn't have the impact quite that was desired when he came over from Arizona, but still made plays. He returned that touchdown against New England to seal the game. I think he had like 6 or 7 sacks as well. And then Tillery, bringing him over from the Chargers last year, decent rotational guy. Nichols from the Bears, also decent rotational guy. So I settled on the D line. You're not wrong about the linebackers, though, Brady. Denzel Perryman walked over to the Texans, so that was their leading tackler. Yeah, definitely a weak spot. Weak spot I went for me is tell me what your offensive identity is going to be. If you can't get Brandon Jacobs back in the fold, Jimmy G coming over. Yes, he knows the playbook. Obviously, you name the wide receivers, which are decent weapons. Obviously, top of the line with Devontae Adams. I think Jacoby Myers is underrated, but just the overall offensive line is a weak spot as well. But just the identity. What are you going to be as an offense? What are you going to do on that side of the ball? And couple that with plenty of holes in the defensive side leaves me at 4 to 6 wins. I still think they can be better than the Colts at this point in time. I did have them in the basement, the Raiders, just because I didn't like a lot of the functionality. But seeing the Garoppolo's healthy enough to start camp, that's a little bit of a breather for me as far as siding with the Raiders. But still, 4 to 6, I can't get them over. I can't get them over, especially in that division, especially in the overall conference of the AFC. It's tough sled. What you got, Ed?
I got Vegas Raiders. Best is the D line, just purely off of the draft that they've had. Byron Young, they drafted. You get the kid Tyree Willis out of Texas Tech. I mean, and then just the depth overall. Kyle Pecco from Buffalo came over. Tillery from, I think Tillery was from
Chargers.
the Chargers.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say LA. It's LA Chargers, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then obviously Chandler Jones, Crosby, all them guys, studs. Worst position for me is quarterback, because this is what has basically been the highlight of all of my conversations tonight. The quarterback position, what is going to need to happen? Crosby will have that defense show up. They will play. Crosby's a beast. He's a high motor and a willingness to never stop. This offensive attack, though, Devontae Adams, good. Josh Jacobs, good. What's that going to mean for them? And is Garoppolo going to be the guy he was not at San Francisco? Can he be the guy he's not at San Francisco?
He's never been the guy.
Is today the day that
I said he had to have an MVP season?
The guy that was in San Francisco, he's going to transcend that guy and be double that guy for the Raiders. If that happens, then maybe they win a division. But I don't see it happening. I think it's going to take a few seasons for Jimmy to get his shit straight over there for the Niners. 47 wins, maybe.
All right.
Tough one.
That's the Oakland. I did it. Vegas Raiders. Let's move on here. Final team here, finishing off the show. Last team, Denver Broncos. New coach Sean Payton making buzz. Another headline. More camp news. It is what it is. For me, best position group, I took it as what I potential to be the most improved and most helpful to this team is this new O-line that they're putting together. So they added Ben Powers, guard from the Ravens. He played every snap last year. They added the tackle Mike McGlinchey from the 49ers. He played every game last season after tearing his quad in 2021.
They paid him big
their
money.
tackles, they did. Their tackle Bowles, they kept back. He was middle of the pack tackle last year, but that was a bad offense. So maybe on a better offense, hopefully, with better players around him, that he gets to be a better version of himself. He gets to improve more. Similar thing with Quinn Martinez, the guard next to him. Great year 2 last year, and if he can continue his trend going up, this could be a really good O-line for them. Worst position group, I'm gonna go Russell Wilson and take QB here. I'm only doing this solely based off of what I've seen. I hate to do it. I want it to not be Russell Wilson. I'd rather it be anything else on that team. But he has given you nothing to hope for, and you're literally just praying that Sean Payton turns him into the next Drew Brees.
Yeah,
because that's what you need. But again, needs to win as Sean Payton turns him into the next Drew Brees. Like I said, repeating myself here. It's a tough team. Another one of those teams. I hate doing this, but I have to give them a wide range too because I don't know what I'm getting. I haven't seen enough. I'm putting them similar boat as Vegas of 6 to 11 wins. It's hard for me to range it out.
Denver's a tough one. I think I'm on the optimistic side with Denver, and it starts with Sean Payton. And we talk about, the coaches and how much they matter and all that good stuff. And as you were talking about it, coupling in Russell Wilson with how dismal of a year that was last year, good leaders take the focus and put it on them. And I kind of think that there might be some weight to the tactic of the comments that were just recently out there, kind of throwing shade at the coaching staff and putting the, target on his head and taking it a little bit off of Russ. I think it was a quietly savvy move by him, a veteran leader, proven track record, maybe to take a little bit of that hot spot off of Russ. He's a beautiful, offensive mind. I think he's going to work wonders for him. I went with the wide receiving core as my best. Unfortunately, I found out yesterday Tim Patrick got hurt again. He's going to miss another season. He was part of the reason why I took that wide receiver core. Huge Jerry Jeudy fan. Huge Courtland Sutton fan. I love KJ Hamler. They brought over Marquez Callaway.
He's hurt too.
Callaway's hurt for how
Hamler.
Long? Hamler?
Yeah.
From last season?
Oh, no, he just got hurt.
He just got hurt today?
In practice.
Do we have news on what it was? Or anyways, sign him. What was it?
Oh, no, I was just saying, yeah.
Well, camp injuries happen. Hopefully it's nothing devastating or, obviously that's going to be another big hit. I drafted Marvin Mims out of Oklahoma. I'm wishy-washy on him, but he can fit in nicely and be a playmaker as well.
Broncos Hamler stepping away for heart issue.
Yeah, that's what it was. He's done. Yeah, career's over. That's what it was.
Wow.
Sorry, bad news there, Charlie.
And
Hamler and Hamlin with the heart issues.
yeah, and then Sutton, whether you like them two or not, Sutton and Judy are just health issues as well.
In your opinion, yeah, I do. They're very talented, but they have been banged up before. So, anyways, wide receiver group, both of those taken off the page, though. I'd probably have to look the other way and try and find something else. Weak spot for me, defensive line. It was namely stopping the run. They did bring over Zach Allen from Arizona, which I do like. DJ Jones from San Francisco, which I do like. They play the 3-4 scheme. It's not enough up front. I do like a couple of linebackers behind them, but if you can't, open up the lanes for those linebackers to come play in the 3-4 scheme, you're going to have trouble, and you're going to have trouble stopping the ball, a la New York Giants. So for me, that's the weakness. I do, like I said, I'm optimistic on the Denver Broncos. I put them at 8 to 10 wins. I definitely could see it being a shit show again, but I just can't see them being anywhere as bad on offense as they were last year. Getting Javonte Williams back and such, and then second year tight end Dosage, which is athletic freak. I think they're going to find ways to be much better on offense this year. So 8 to 10 wins from me for Denver. What you got it?
I got my position group that I liked the best was the secondary. They have a lot of corners. I mean, everybody knows Patrick Surtain. The second has been playing like a beast. Then they went and they drafted some more guys. Riley Moss, who's a guy that I like as a sleeper, who could end up playing, either safety or maybe on the boundary. We'll see what happens. 6 foot, 193 pounds, but he's a missile out there. You got Justin Simmons. I like L.J. Skinner too out of Boise. He's a big body, 6'4", 220. You got Cade Cern still back there, who I was a fan of just from watching him play. So for me it was the secondary. Then the worst. I went the exact same route that Brady went. For me, the worst is the quarterback position, and word for word, I said until it isn't. It's a problem, and it's the worst position on the team. And what do I mean by until it isn't? And I mean until that position shows me otherwise. Sure. So, hey, we already seen what, and I'd love to say that this bottle's half full, but I can't, because we already seen when Russell Wilson left his team that he was with his entire career. He left, he went to another team as a pro, and it didn't work out. Now he's still on the same team, but it's in an entirely new system with the same jersey. So I don't know if this season is going to be Denver's season, just because of the track record that I've seen already from Russ. It leads me to believe that potentially we're going to see the same type of struggle this year as we did last year, even though I will give it a nod to the coaching staff, because how do you just disregard Peyton, right? I think that he will come in, they will win some more games, but it may be a tough sled. You already got 2 receivers that were starting that are down and out for the rest of this year, and one maybe forever. Who knows the situation? I'm going 5 to 8 wins. They're in a tough division. They're in the AFC. It's tough. Everything's tough around them. They got concrete walls they got to break through just to win a game. That defense is going to show up and show out, though. I really think that the defense will play well. But for them to win, Russell. It'll be a ruffle if you don't get Russell. They need Russell to come and be successful and get them the dub. If not, they're going to struggle.
All righty, gentlemen. Anything else to add here?
No, that's the AFC.
Right. That's it. Strengths, weaknesses, what they need. Thanks for listening, everybody.
Hell yeah. Thanks for coming in, baby.
Yeah, next show, we get NFC, and then followed by... So, yeah, next show, NFC, followed by who we think, how the season's going to play out, our picks for winning, and how that playoff picture is going to look.
Let's go.